It's all yours.
All right, thanks. All right, I'm going to call this June 27th, 2024 open work session meeting to order. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Oh, well, great, but otherwise they're excused. Okay. So 2.01 budget review by Chris Holzer.
Okay, here we go. Dr. Jameson, do you want to tee this up or would you like me to just jump in?
I think we had a lot of good, hefty conversations, so you can go ahead and get started. Are you going to put it in presentation mode, Chris?
Yes, I guess that would be a good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder. We won't necessarily spend a whole lot of time on these slides that we've already been through. So, but for our community, these are the district priorities as we planned and built the budget. So these are some of the items that we have that we've cut. Some of these are you've seen before. Some of them are new. Like Dr. Jameson said, we did have some pretty extensive, deep conversations about what could and could not wait. So I'll just briefly go through these things here. The new things are there was an athletic shed planned to store some of our athletic equipment. While we do have storage down in the new space down in Building A, there is a need for more storage. We've eliminated that, deferred that to for another year. Intrusion devices on the classroom doors, we are deferring those. The middle school classroom chairs are also deferred. The commons drywall repair is deferred. The cafeteria drywall repairs also. The lower commons ceiling repairs. The district van. And actually that should say 35,000. It actually is 35,000. I'm not sure why. Oh gosh. Sorry. Oh, what's happening? There we go. The intercom updates, acoustic ceilings, the ad hoc furniture, that's in case something breaks in any of the buildings over the course of the year. We usually put $5,000 in each building in the event that something happens or a need arises that we didn't anticipate. And Dr. Dietrich sold a bus because of the route stacking that he and Mr. Kidd, our head bus driver, endeavored upon this year. That freed up a bus. So instead of that sitting there and us spending hard-earned taxpayer money on it, we sold it. So that'll be a $15,000, $16,000 savings in year one, and it will save even more in subsequent years as the lease progresses through its cycle. And then we've made a bunch of other minor reductions in the categories you see here. There's been no changes to revenue since the last time we met. Okay, so here we go to the expenditures. I did not do a before and after last time. We'll look at that in a few moments when we get to the operating summary. But the salaries have changed slightly due to some of the changes that we've been making, as the benefits have as well. Purchase service is probably the greatest. Purchase service and capital outlay are probably the two greatest reductive areas. And then long and short-term debts remained unchanged. All in all, the total expenditures have declined from last time you've seen this schedule. All right, here is how that broke down. So I took this out to 1 decimal point because things did move enough to where I felt like to tell the whole picture of the work that we did in making the reductions, we needed that additional place value. So salaries will increase. They were slightly over 7%. So it was rounding down. Now we're at 6.8, so it's now rounding. It was rounding up, so I wanted to show that 0.8. Benefits moved as well. Purchase services did increase, but the increase is substantially smaller than it was prior. Supplies did move a little bit, and capital projects and outlay did decrease as well. All right, I went ahead and left this slide intact, and struck the items that we reduced, and you saw those on the other slide, but figured we'd just leave this here to show you the things that are still going to happen. That ECC elementary cell booster, is incredibly important, as is the roof access at the ECC, and all of the other items that we've already talked about a number of times need to stay there so that we can maintain the fidelity of our spaces and the safety of our students and staff and any community members that enter those spaces. And here's how it all shakes out. Last time we met, we were at 27.2, and it was just a little under 2.1 million and on the deficit spend here, and we have changed that to a 28.4, which is a $1.8 million deficit spend. So this did move quite significantly from Tuesday evening.
Chris, can you also talk about some of the adjustments we still will make when the addendum is done in July, so that the board and community also know what additional shifts will occur?
Yes. So one of the things that we are watching, we need to make sure that, number one, first and foremost, that as folks go about purchasing for the beginning of the year, that they're doing so from the budgets that they created. So we are going to up that level of accountability just to ensure. We're also going to continue to look for areas where we can reduce and cut along the way. Dr. Jameson, did you have any other specific areas that you wanted me to call out?
Just the impending revenue from the reimbursement for the
Sure.
flood, but then also once the end of year expenditures and any overage that we have, how that money goes back into the budget, and potentially based on the information that you shared, the amount that would be needed to increase the fund balance, just to give an overview for the board.
Sure, thank you. So we are still awaiting, I haven't seen mail today, but we are still awaiting a check from Music, our insurance consortium, for the reimbursements. That money will go back in and will increase our fund balance. We are closing the year, but I'm remaining quite optimistic that we will outperform the budget. I'm reluctant to throw a number out there quite yet because we are just getting started. Once I'm through this budget process, I'll be able to devote more of my time to that closing of the year process, but we'll bring that final budget for 24 to you in July, at which point you'll see what I'm hoping will be a noticeable shift in the fund balance to the positive. As far as what was that last item? Sorry, it's been a very long day.
No, I was just trying to share with the board, because I know we were waiting for the reimbursement from the insurance company. Do you want to give them an idea of how much that will be? I think that's important to lift out, because that was from last year's budget. That's something that came out of the budget that I think community needs to know, that we're still waiting for that payment to come back. So it's kind of like a prepayment for the damage from the flood and some of those pieces.
Yeah, and just for everybody's benefit, the way that works it's a reimbursement, so it's a lot like medical insurance in that regard. We did have to make the initial outlay, and then the company reimburses us. And since the initial claim was over $1 million, it went through a much more stringent review process than it typically would for, let's say, if something was damaged inside the building, a minor thing was damaged. This was basically a complete rebuild of the lower portion of the first floor. So we should be north of about 800,000. So the other important piece, while I say that number, what's more important than that number is the number that it is required to shift the fund balance either up or down. So anything that happens in 24 to the ending fund balance impacts the beginning fund balance of 25. So and it takes about $240,000 to shift that fund balance in 25, a percentage up or down. So every $240,000 increment that we add will increase or decrease the fund balance by 1%. That's an important number. That's what I've been using as I've been identifying, jotting down the numbers and making sure that we're getting movement, because $2,000 or $5,000 doesn't move the needle at all. And so those substantive changes do require large shifts in either revenue or expenditures up or down to the tune of 240,000. All right, so we do have some next steps here. Prepare the systems for the budget load. That is quite a bit of work. It takes me about anywhere from 2 to 3 hours to get that done, and then we have to go validate, make sure everything matches. And then we'll communicate and train our staff. Stakeholder engagement, budget decisions. So the 4-hour recess board committee, Dr. J, you want to talk on that one?
Yeah, I think just kind of building upon some of the conversations that we've had with the board, starting to bring those individuals that are on that committee in to have conversations and take a bird's eye look at how we've been expending funds, where that money is going, the alignment to our strategic plan, and then how do we use the funds to support closing the gaps for our Black and Brown students, our students who are supported through special school district, and then moving forward, monitoring that. So I'm looking forward to actually seeing that committee start back up in the fall so that we can begin to have stakeholders as a part of that conversation and ensure we continue to have openness as we have these conversations moving forward.
So finally, as we do move through this year, we spoke to this the other night, but it's worth mentioning again. We did have the expired TIF on Cambridge Commons townhomes over there. And we do want to, now that we've deferred so many projects, this becomes even more important than it was on Tuesday, that we explore that no tax increase bond issue to see what projects we can fit into that. There are even projects that you haven't seen that we cut before we even brought this budget to you. We've got parking lots, sidewalks. We've got 1 roof, 2 roofs now that need addressed. I could continue, but there are significant facilities and infrastructure needs that we trimmed out even before we brought this budget to you, and then we made even more after that. So it's important to note that, because that will be the longer we defer, the worse those situations that we were addressing get. So we will need to look at those very carefully, and then of course understanding what operating levy increases would be required to sustain us into the future for whatever period of time the board wishes. And we would scale any tax levy increase that we would endeavor, we would scale to that.
Chris, I'm going to add a couple others just from the notes from our conversation prior to this meeting. Next steps for me include bringing back a staffing outlook based on some conversations. I also indicated exploring a rubric for some of the early college AP to look at what a sliding scale fee, things of that nature. And those are conversations that we've already been having. So Chris, this is not new to you. And then the last one, which again, Chris is not new to, just looking at the timeline for the budgeting process to ensure that we are having ample time and having those conversations, I think, even prior to. So, you hear me say frequently that we are a district of continuous improvement. That is not just for teachers, that's also for the central office staff. And so, we are grateful and thankful for the leadership of the board as we work through ensuring our fiscal solvency as we move forward, but also ensuring that we're closing gaps for kids.
What questions might you have?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you for spending the time to go back through and find ways that we could trim as this board requested. So I just wanted to say I appreciate that.
Very
Right.
well.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. We do have a couple of action items unless anybody else has any other questions.
I just want to say thanks to, I appreciate all your time.
You're very welcome. Dr. J and I have become quite good friends over these last couple days and weeks. Spent a lot of time together.
Lots of phone calls and text messages. It's been fantabulous.
Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to action items. 3.01, final warrant list. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the final warrant list.
Second.
All in favor?
I just had one, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. You have a question?
Yeah, I just had a question about something on page 56. It says college AP exam, and then it has like a late fee that's almost half the amount. Is that just a different exam, or did we pay a late fee?
There is a late fee involved. I haven't fully unpacked that, but yes.
Okay.
I pushed back on that one too, and I believe that there were multiple calls to the vendor and there was no grace given.
Okay. Thank you. No more questions.
We don't usually get those. I'm being honest. I was quite shocked that wasn't waived.
It was like half the cost of the exams. That's
It was ridiculous.
why it stood out. So anyway, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. I'm sorry. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? No. All right. Motion carries. 3.02, budget review. Can I get a motion to approve the budget, please?
Motion to approve the budget as presented.
With
Second.
amendments to follow. Okay. And I'm sorry, with amendments to follow, right?
With amendments to follow.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. All opposed? All right. Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
To adjourn. Second.
All in favor?